Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, hailing from Kokona, Wisconsin, riding a CST Tires SSI decals traveling back Yamaha YFC 450R, four-time ATV motocross national champion, number 25, Cody Jansen.
What's up, everybody? We're back. I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Welcome to episode 69 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, available for purchase and in stock today at shop.csttires.com. We have another highly anticipated episode for you tonight with yet another legend of ATV racing. Mike Walsh of Walsh Race Craft is connected to so much ATV racing history, it's insane. Today, he's most known as the face of the family business, but as you'll learn, there is so much more to Mike Walsh and his story. Before becoming what we know Walsh Racecraft as today, Mike was a successful pro in his own right. Thanks to his blended passions for ATVs and engineering, and under the tutelage of his late father, who doubled as his hero, Mike organically found himself thrust into the birth of Walsh Racecraft. Listen as he tells the story of going from pro racer to building world-class quads for his competition while lining up against them, and eventually working with factory teams, fielding teams of his own, being named Mechanic of the Year, and so much more. The story you're about to hear is absolutely epic. So epic, in fact, that we had to make this a two-parter. And you're going to enjoy every single second of it right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. But before we get to Mike, you know the drill. We would like to say thank you to all of our incredible partners. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Londonville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of Haymauer Financial Group, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bike Strikes and Quads LLC, Integrated Financial Concepts and their Safe to Race and Safe to Ride insurance programs, Manscaped, get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com, and we are proud to announce our newest partnership with Binky's Forever ATC Museum. If you're a listener of ours, chances are you're connected enough in the ATV industry to have seen photos of Binky Tapscott's mind-blowing collection of 3 and 4 wheelers. There's no denying Binky's passion, a passion that we can certainly relate to here at Digging Deep, so we are proud to welcome Binky's Forever ATC Museum to the Digging Deep family. We can't thank Binky and his family enough for coming on board. I mentioned Manscaped, and as much as we love the holidays, it can seem like everything but Christmas music to our ears if you're a procrastinator like myself when it comes to gift giving. Insert Manscaped and their Performance Package 4.0, which makes for the perfect gift this holiday season. This kit includes the new Lawnmower 4.0 electric trimmer that I rant and rave about every week for helping me keep a perfect beard, the best nose hair trimmer ever created, and an array of goodies including deodorant, boxer briefs, a travel bag, and more. So check out Manscaped. I wish I would have sooner. Again, if you're like me, coming up with gift ideas can be difficult, but Manscaped is a great gift to keep in mind this holiday season. And get 20% off with free shipping by using code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support all these great companies that support us. Let them know that you like us by using our discount codes. And for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. As we start to shift our focus to the 2022 season, we both know you need parts and gear. No matter what off-road gear or parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. But before you buy, simply click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website. By using our specific link, we get a percentage of what you buy on the back end. So if you want to help us out, this is about as easy and convenient of a way to support us as it gets. So click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner at diggingdeepatvmx.com to help us out while satisfying all your gear and parts needs this off season. We can't thank you enough for that. That Rocky Mountain ATVMC link is on the right side of our homepage at diggingdeepatvmx.com, and right underneath it you'll find our new Amazon widget. So same concept. Before you buy from Amazon, simply go to our website, click that Amazon Amazon logo on the right side of the screen underneath Rocky Mountain. Purchase whatever your heart desires, and we'll get a percentage of what you purchase on the back end. We're all purchasing from Amazon this time of year, so use our Amazon link to help us out while you buy this holiday season. No new donors to shout out this week, but if you're interested in donating and hearing your name on the show, you can find the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee donation links on our website, and we can't thank those of you enough who have donated. Now it's showtime. The 30-second board is up, it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep with Mike Walsh right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. Let's go. All right, guys, I'm absolutely stoked to sit down with this next guest. He's a legend, one of the most genuine dudes you'll ever find, from his time as a pro racer himself to being a championship and award-winning mechanic, and of course, building some of the raddest ATVs in existence. We have so much to get into. Brought to you by DP Brakes, the world leader in sintered brake technology. Visit www.dp-brakes.com. Purchase from your local dealer or message the show for their contact info today to join nearly all of the top ATV racers on the planet in trusting the high performance and impressive durability of DP Brakes. Again, that's www.dp-brakes.com. From Walsh Race Craft, say hello to Mr. Mike Walsh. What's up, Mikey? Thanks so much for joining me, and welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, man.
Yeah, I'm pumped to be here. This is it's an honor to be on your show. You've had a lot of really high-end people and fast riders and champions and legends and everything that are in the show, and you do a lot for racing and ATVs, so I'm pumped to be here.
I appreciate it, pal. We work hard at it, but man, like I've been looking forward to getting you on here for the longest time, because I think there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't know, and there's so much ATV racing history that you've been a part of. So before we get into all that, as we sit down for this episode right now, it's December 7th. So the off season is in full swing right now. Bike builds are going on everywhere. I have to imagine it's a madhouse at Walsh Racecraft, huh?
It really is, and we've kind of streamlined some stuff and listened to listen to our customer base, and we're trying for our customers to do the best we can. But it's pretty busy down here, and what's really cool is during the Corona and all that, we're able to stay going real strong, and now we're able to we're hiring again, and I feel like the business is really growing. I feel like we're in a transitional stage, and I really focused in the last 3-4 years since Dad's passed. I've really focused on really turning up the heat with the business, and it's like my new passion. I mean, it's always been my passion, but I think I'm even just much more fired up now.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we know this industry did pretty well, going through the COVID stuff, but like it puts people, some people in a tough spot, especially like, some people aren't able to get supplies and parts and whatever. So to hear that you guys, got through it well, and that you're in such a good place, that's a great thing. Being busy is a great problem to have. And honestly, I can feel that, like, from you. It felt like in years past, and we're going to get into some of that stuff, like you had a million irons in the fire, right? Like you had so much shit going on, and now it's like, man, you're just so invested in Walsh Racecraft, and I love to see that, because I felt for so long, how it is. It's like you guys can't get parts out fast enough,
No, yeah.
Which again is a good problem to have.
It is, for sure.
Yeah. So, well, Mike, we have an endless list of things to talk about tonight. We're going to try to cover as many as we possibly can here. So let's dive right in, starting with, tell me about your first ATV. When did you get your first quad?
Oh man, I can remember it like it was yesterday, even though I was 8. I was 8 years old. And bottom line is, my dad, he's always a hero of mine, still is. And I guess like most young boys, and he was always racing, he was drag racing. He was always, it was in his blood. He just like, and as a young kid, I'm like, man, I need to get something to rip around on. And that was like my passion. I really wanted something, and Dirt Wheels magazine was out at the time, real strong. And man, I was looking at them. I still have I actually still have the magazine. It had a blaster on it, like a white and blue blaster. And I ended up getting for Christmas when I was 8 years old. So if anybody, we're talking, 30, years ago, more than 30 years ago.
Right,
so
right.
He ended up for Christmas bringing me home a TRX 125.
Okay.
So, with the black seat, it was an 85.
Okay.
85 TRX 125. And man, I thought that thing was just, I would tell my friends to go 100 miles an hour.
Right. That's what I feel like. That's what every little kid does with their first quad or whatever. That's awesome. Like so organic, just wanting to be like dad and get into something with wheels. So as I prepped for this interview, I was reading about the history of Walsh on the Walsh Racecraft website, on your website there. And there I learned that you didn't start racing until you were 16. So for all of those years in between there, were you riding and just never found your way into the racing scene, or how did that all go down?
Well, exactly. I had a best friend, Wayne Shiflett, and Josh Fakatura, so we were, just some dudes from Connecticut, some kids, and we were riding. Like, as much as we could ride, we rode. It was what we did, Josh had a place called the Hay Stack, which was pretty much just this mud hole filled with hay. Okay. And we had all these trails behind all of our houses, and we get together and we ride, and and really, I can't really describe it. It was just such a passion. Something that I really don't have anymore, to be honest. I have the passion for the business, but you're only a kid once. And
it's that organic love for it.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of people have it. And if you're blessed enough to get to chase it, however, those years may last a while. They may be very short. So I rode and rode and rode, and I got to be the king of the sand pit, in my mind, at least. And me and Josh decided we were gonna, well, actually he twisted my arm. I wanted to step into dad's shoes and start drag racing. And, it's very expensive and stuff. And Josh is like, hey, we should go to Southwick 338, District 338. So we should go hit a track, just one race. Let's go. So I had so I got a 250R. At that point, I was 16. And I see from the 125, I went to a 250X, and that whole 250X to the 250R, that era was just a massive era in my life. With Curtis Sparks was involved. My dad, we were building. I was, you're reading the magazines, you're seeing Curtis Sparks, you're seeing guys like, all the, old, Charlie Shepard, really, old school guys, and Gary Denton, and Doug Gust was a hero. Doug Gust is. Shit, he's still a hero.
I was just going to say he's still a hero. Yeah.
But so we did a lot. I actually put a 350X in that. Me and dad, pretty much dad put a 350X motor in that 250X chassis. And I had Sparks. Well, he had Sparks do the, and it's funny because Wayne had a 250R 3-wheeler, an 83 250R 3-wheeler. And Josh kind of dropped out of the scene early, and so didn't Wayne, I just refer to my friends because they were I like to have tight knit relationships, and not a lot of them, but they were really close. We're all really close, and so he just decided that he wanted to race, and I said, let's do it. So we went there, and it's funny, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but we were both so nervous. And it was big back then. It was, we were racing the 250 C class or B class or something at 338. And there was a full gate, you're talking 20 riders, or more. And I ended up finishing third. He ended up, I think, getting sick on the line. I don't mean to throw him under the bus, but when you're a kid and it was great. And so anyways, I was hooked after that race. That was it. It was over. I was just racing every time I could.
That's crazy. Again, like I remember too being a kid and just, wanting to ride. Like we rode literally from sun up to sundown. It felt like every day, right? Like for the summer break or whatever, for 3 months straight, we rode all day, every day. I remember the police being called by a neighbor because we were riding at like 6 a.m. on a Sunday, like that's just what we did. Yeah, it's kind of funny how fate goes, because if your buddy wanted to drug you into this thing, like who knows? I mean, Walsh Racecraft wouldn't be a thing, or at least it wouldn't be an ATV thing anyway.
It really wouldn't. And actually, he texted me today, and it was funny. I'm just a dude, that has a passion and went after it, and like text me. He's like, "Man, you're gonna be on Digging Deep," and he's still, Josh is still a fan, and he actually is doing very well in life, and and he texted me today, and he's like, "You're gonna be on Digging Deep." He's like, "You're a legend," and all this stuff, and it was just funny, and because we're both 44, 45 now, and me and him, I kind of it was definitely he is the one who got me into it, and yeah, there might not be a Walsh Racecraft ATV components if it wasn't for us starting somewhere. You got to start somewhere.
Right, exactly. With your dad's background in fab and auto racing, I'm surprised you didn't get more into the drag racing world. Like you said, I mean, the getting into ATV racing probably came at just the right time, or you wouldn't have went into ATV racing. You would have went into the drag thing. And with that unique background of yours, with kind of watching dad and his fab and the auto stuff and watching all that, that would obviously go on to fuel what we know as Walsh Racecraft to this day. Now, like, Walsh is such an iconic brand at this point. Like, we couldn't imagine the sport without you. But yeah, like, it all goes back to that buddy twisting your arm. And like I said, like, with that unique background of yours, while loving ATV racing and riding, I think, at least I can pick up on, like, reading between the lines and some of the stuff I read on the website there, with you also being into fab work, it seemed like you were already, like, drawing stuff up and already, like, dreaming up ideas and starting to build your own stuff at a young age. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So basically, just like you and everybody else, all the old school guys, at least I know, I mean, we were working on bikes all the time, and everybody wants to go faster. They want a smoother ride. So what I did, I kind of, like, drew from other industries as far as drew from their drag, 4130 chromoly, TIG welded, drew even from, I mean, I like to say I'm very much into planes, and aircraft, and just drew from everywhere I could that I had knowledge about, and tried to bring it to ATV racing. And that's why don't quote me on this, but I think our slogan is something like best possible products, bringing out the best possible rider in you.
Sure.
So basically, when me and my brother, and see, my brother's not really, my brother is my heart, and my mom's my heart, and my girlfriend and stuff, and but they don't really see, a lot of people see me because I haven't been at the races as much anymore, but I was.
You're the face. You're the face
yes.
of it. You're the face of it.
I was the face. So
yeah.
And my brother's, I don't want to say he's the brains, but my brother is the brains of the office, we'll say. And actually, many of you probably seen some of our automated equipment on Instagram and whatnot. Nate does a lot of the drawing, and he does a lot of the drawing, and he does he actually runs the Bentec Dragon, which
Okay.
is really helping our company. So shout out to them. It took a while. We had a lot of processes down. We got the Bentec Dragon. It's new, a lot of new stuff, learning new things, but it's really starting to really help
Good.
our business. So
Good.
in a positive way, yes.
I always felt for Nate, because I felt like dealing with people sucks and it weighs on a person, and
Yeah.
I always felt for Nate, because I feel like, he's always been your right-hand man from day one.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think he has the love for it like you do. So you know what I mean? Like when tough days, like when days are tough or you got a bad day or whatever, like the passion and the love can help you get through it. And for Nate, like I just always felt for him a little bit, like, damn, like I said, like dealing with people every day is a tough thing to do. So it's just awesome. Like you see that family bond and the family business. For him to stick it out with you all these years is awesome.
And that's kind of where I was going with all that. It's my passion. Well, it's my passion. It was me and my dad's passion. It was my passion.
Mm-hmm.
But, my mom actually asked me a really crazy question. I took her to a little place she likes to go for her birthday. And she asked me, I said something to her about dad. And she said, well, what have I ever brought you or inspired? I don't know, something. That
sounds like your mom, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's mom, like you're the greatest, but this is guy stuff,
Right.
Like you brought me God, you brought me girl stuff, and funny, laugh, jokes, stuff like that. But dad we had just this incredible relationship. I still feel, I don't really feel like he's passed, to be honest. I mean, I do and I don't. I feel like this is my time to really grind and show him what I can do and what me and my brother can do and what the family can do. Without him, and it's not saying, hey, look what I could do without you, but just to say, like, look what I could do, and because of you, you know what I mean? Because of the things you taught me.
Because of and thanks to him. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
You wouldn't be in this position without him.
No, absolutely not. My family's made a lot of sacrifices for ATV race. That's the funny thing. My family's made a lot of sacrifices for ATV racing, not just for me, but it was for my love of the racing. And my parents were always small business. They owned a small plaza and stuff. Okay. Before this, my dad was into the racing. He had a speed shop, so yeah, the small business, but then what we did was we moved to Florida, really combined and just kind of concentrated everything towards Walsh Race Craft.
Sure.
And God bless them for doing that, because they didn't have to do that. They could have went to the Keys and drank margaritas all day, but they hung in there with me, and I think that's what they wanted to do, really.
Well, yeah. I mean, the family's never wavered. So at 16 or maybe even younger, how did you like already have that engineering savvy? Like, did that all come from watching dad and just being into all, kind of being a sponge to all that technology and other sports sports, but other industries? I mean, how did you have that at such a young age?
Well, I know you are really into football and probably were into ball sports and stuff. And I was into ball sports, and that's why I said I was into ball sports. I was playing basketball. I played high school ball, and so ATV racing just kind of fit, because you had the engineering side of it, and you had the building side of it, and you also had the athleticism. You had to be an athlete to do this stuff, right? So for me, it was like the perfect combination. And as far as the background, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. I wasn't the brightest bulb on the tree when it comes to the schoolwork, and I knew that I was gonna have to do something different than be a college graduate, and being a college graduate, there's nothing wrong with that. It's great, but there's also nothing wrong with putting your hands to use or putting just creating, you know, and there's nothing wrong with just being an individual of what you want to do. And that's kind of like what I was. And, you know, Dad, you know, we would go to like NHRA meets and we would see, you know, and Clay Milligan, you know, bless him for continuing to stick it out with Walsh Race Craft. I mean, in all his
cool
success.
It's so
yeah,
cool.
Just so sick, you know. Shout out to those guys. I mean, Clay is just probably one of the guys that I look up to now more than a lot of people. He's just the way he handled the passing of Dalton, and I mean, I couldn't say enough for him. But as far as like my background, it was more it was more like the light bulb, you know, like okay, we're gonna make some stuff and we're gonna test it. And I was that guy. I was that test dummy kind of, you know. I would make stuff and I would bolt it on the 250R. It could be 12 o'clock at night, and we'd be out motoing the next morning, you know. And you know, it's funny, the first set of arms I made totally made differently than now. I mean, everything about them, the way I made them, the process, everything is completely different. But I mean, they were made out of 7/8 chromoly, and you know, very limited gusseting and stuff. And I took you know, first jump, they were a banana, you know, so they folded up on me. So I mean, most of this stuff is basically the stuff, and that's why I was so heavily into the riders. I respected those guys so much, and tried, you know, had the relationships with Jeremy Lawson, and is an amazing athlete, you know, and these people. But it was a test bed for Walsh Race Craft. So yes, we knew what would probably work, but you know, and going back a little bit, you know, with Cannondale was real strong, or where they were on at their pinnacle. Yep. You know, I had the opportunity to go to Cannondale, and I saw all the development, the testing, and the little teeny devices they had made to flex apart millions and millions and millions of times before that time before it would eventually catch a stress riser and crack or fail or bend or do whatever it was going to do. And I was like, wow, this is what I want to be one day. That when I saw Cannondale, blew my mind. And you know, but so to answer that question, it really is just really a passion that burns within me to do the best possible job that I could do, and to make the best parts that we can make. And all the engineering mainly came from my dad's same thing, trial and error through his life. And sure. So when I started this passion, you know, he was 50 something, you know, when we really started to build, you know, and sell is and the funny thing is I gotta throw out Mark Lager's name. I mean, I was at Southwick, and I think Todd Vescovi, you know, bless Todd, you know, he passed, good friend of mine, amazing rider. But I saw one of his Lagers, and I had a stock friend at the time. And that's the thing, people don't really understand that it was all about aftermarket chassis, 250Rs, and this sort of thing. Well, I saw the first one and I looked at it and I was in amazement, and Dad's like, yeah, we could do that. So basically we went back, and, you know, I want to ramble on too much, so I'm gonna give the mic back to you, but that's kind of where that is.
No, you're good. I love to hear about that. I mean, I think that, you know, hearing the origin of a company that's become so iconic in this sport, like Walsh has, to hear how it all started, without your dad saying, yeah, we can do that. Like, again, like this doesn't happen, yeah. which is amazing.
We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. Welcome to the team, two-time champ Joel Hetrick, who dropped the biggest news of the offseason when he announced his move to CST Tires. The CST takeover has been gaining momentum over the past several seasons, and now Joel Hetrick and his Phoenix Racing teammate Jeffrey Rastrelli are the most recent additions. The Pulse MXR tire has helped lead riders like Thomas Brown to race wins and 3 consecutive Quad Cross of Nations titles, Nick Janusa to the Pro Class podium, myself, Cody Jansen, as I rode my Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears to back-to-back back-to-back national championships in the Junior 25 Plus class, and the most recent additions have us thinking a Pro Class national championship is on the horizon for CST tires. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Visit shop.csttires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, myself, and so many others are believers in CST tires. Are you? CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. You already know we're Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. Whether it's second all-time winningest, 7-time and reigning ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, or 6-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFC 450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This unprecedented success for the YFC 450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undeniable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has created a Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Better yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and even stronger for 2021, meaning Yamaha riders are about to cash in on higher payouts and more prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them on social media at Yamaha Outdoors, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. For over 150 years, Valvoline has led the charge by being dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, and for the better part of a decade, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the historically great Team Valvoline. From my commuting vehicles to small engines, race quads, and everything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline in all of my equipment. I've experienced increased function and durability as well as a longer life expectancy thanks to Valvoline's array of products and lubricants. Since 1866, Valvoline has been focused on bettering your experience, whether on road, on track, and everywhere in between. Upgrade to Valvoline today and check them out at valvoline.com. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and oh yeah, 6-time NHRA World Champion Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is brought to you in part by DID in their range of championship winning chains. Powered by technology, DID chains are designed to give you the greatest strength to weight ratio, making them the optimal chain for racing and giving you a championship level edge. DID has been driving championship-winning race programs since 1933, chosen by champions such as Chad Wienen, Joel Hetrick, and myself, Cody Jansen. Champion above the rest is DID's 520 ATV2 chain, with those same design principles and materials being used throughout their entire line of products, including their on-road category as well. Pick up a DID chain today at your local dealer or a reputable online e-tailer. DID. What drives you?
We are proud to be partnered with Numira Technologies. Since 2001, Numira has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Numira's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, that allows for tighter tolerances and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Numira's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits, visit your local dealer or online at www.numira.com. Numira Technologies, pistons with an attitude. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, all the way down to suspension parts and bearing kits. Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world. Visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com. Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
So at what point did Walsh Racecraft take shape as a business and kind of become a focus for you and your family? Tell me about that.
All right, so I'm going to tell you exactly how that happened. I had built a chassis, and it was in 4130 chromoly. It was not painted or anything, so you could see the welds and everything like that. And I had ventured into the pro class, and I had built that chassis. We were at Frozen Ocean in New York. It was a huge event. I mean, you had this Canadian champion. I forgot what his name was at the time. You had John Natale. You had some big names. Tim Farr, Shane Hitt, running real good back then. And this was a long time ago.
Okay.
I was there, and PJ Chesson was there, and Travis Spader's mechanic Izzy Bjerregaard was there. And I had the bike parked next to my dad's truck, and PJ Chesson, his dad, Pete Chesson, who passed, which is, I always say, if it wasn't for Pete Chesson, there would be no Walsh Racecraft. Okay. So basically, Pete came up to the truck and looked at the bike and said, "This is so," and he was a big time circle car guy, big time sprint car guy. And PJ at the time was real fast. And he was turning all the heads and whatnot, and they were really doing well. And he asked me point blank, "Are you building these things or not? If you are, I'll take two. Here's a deposit." And that's how I went into my truck, and I looked at my dad. I mean, Christ, I was 18 years old. So I said, "What am I going to do, Dad?" He's like, "I don't know. What are you going to do? You can do it?" Nah, he wanted me to be a pilot. Okay. So I was taking flight lessons when I was 13 years old. Right. Okay. So a lot of people probably don't know that. And I sold on my 16th birthday. So he wanted me to be a pilot because he didn't want me to have to work as hard as he did. Okay. And, but it wasn't in me. It wasn't who I was, Hey,
you found your purpose through a guy, right, saying, "Hey, right, I want to buy these things."
Yeah. So he said that, and we went to work. So I went to work, and Wayne Shiflett helped me. And it was in the back of my dad's shop. My dad had a shop where he kept his drag car and whatnot. And it was a beat up place. I'm not going to lie. I mean, we've always been kind of roughnecks, but, and we were in there, and we were throwing tubing around, and man, I wanted to build them. I just wanted to build them like the most beautiful chassis they ever seen, So these chassis took, we're talking like 4 months a piece, and that was when I didn't have any work. So I built one for him, and I built one for Travis Spader. It was through Izzy Bjerregaard, and that was the first publicly sold Walsh chassis.
Yeah. So the first, and I read a little bit about this on the site, because I had learned that your first customer purchased a couple of 250R frame kits, like you just told us, and went on to win a 250A national championship aboard that Walsh Racecraft built ride, right? That's right. How the story goes.
Yeah, that was PJ. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So after that, PJ went sprint car racing, and he actually won the Kings Royal, and he went Indy car racing. He qualified for the Indy 500. So, and the only reason I say this is because these that's involved with ATV racing, they need to know that they need to know this stuff, because there is some and everybody is, and everybody, and everybody is equal, under God and everything like that. But and I truly believe all that, but there was some major heavy hitters involved with the development of ATV racing.
Oh, for sure.
To get where it is. Wayne Henson has helped me out. Wayne Meridian from PEP. This whole thing is a family, and I'm into drag bike racing, and that's a family too. I was just at the Man's Cup And I love to go up there because I get ideas. I'm like, oh my God, look at all the stuff these guys are making. I'm like, I need to bring this to quad racing, so I go up there and get ideas, and, it's the, it saddens me that I lost one of my right-hand men, few years back, due to, I really don't know, but, we had a separation. It kind of set Walsh Racecraft back a little bit, but then it really just boosted us, and we took off. So sometimes, losing things that you thought you could never live without is sometimes a good thing. It makes you more of a man, and it brings you, sometimes you just need to grow. And it was a spot in my life where I grew. So what I'm trying to say with all this is I have had some really good people in my life. This is not just me. It is not close to being just me. I mean, yes, I'm the passion behind it, but there's a lot of people who have really put a lot of heart and soul into Walsh Racecraft. Not only the riders, other different people. Yeah,
the people behind the scenes more that
that
don't get the notoriety. But yeah, I think there's so much to touch on there. I mean, whether it's as an athlete, as a business person, in your personal relationships or whatever it is. The saying that I've always went by to kind of get you through the crappy times are, you can't appreciate, like, we need the crappy times to appreciate the good ones. And, adversity, that's probably the athlete in us, Mike, that when you got your back against the wall, like, that's when you have to perform. So in a business sense too, like, you find yourself in a position where you got to grind to get back to where you want to be. Like, hey, bet against us, we'll make it happen. That's kind of where my mind goes too. But that's awesome to hear about all of that stuff and how it started and where you are now. So 1998, I think, is when you guys kind of hit the ground running there with selling those first machines and stuff. And by 99, you kind of already touched on this with Spader, but in 99, 2000-ish, you're already working with Harold Goodman on the development of a 250R based YZ400Fs powered hybrid. So that's almost right away in the development of Walsh Racecraft. And that was basically to compete against Corey Ellis in that Legger hybrid that we heard so much about a couple episodes back when Corey joined the show.
Yeah, Corey, man. Corey's an amazing racer and friend, actually. Man, when I went out to California for Pace, we had some good times. Amazing rider. Ton of talent there. Also still in the sport. And so Goodman was at the top of his game. I mean, Harold Goodman, all the Goodmans are very, very close to me. Obviously now I don't talk to them much anymore, but they have always been great people and helped Walsh Racecraft a lot with our success. And the one thing was that quad that kind of kicked it off for us. When it didn't kind of kick it off, it pretty much did kick it off. And that was when Harold rolled up to the shop with the YZ400F. And what we did, and we were able to take that. And Mr. Goodman and Harold are both very knowledgeable people when it comes to racing. And we developed that quad, and that was a work of art in my time. That was a long time ago. And he went out and had huge success. He raced also Doug Gust on a you guys are gonna laugh, but it was on a 400EX, and he was very fast on that 400EX. And Harold ended up winning that championship, I believe. I know, and that was a big deal for us. With that quad, because what that did for the sport, and a lot of, and I look at that era of hybrids. I look at it as such a huge era, and I think that's just because for me it was a huge era. But looking back on everything, it was actually a very small time with the 4-strokes in the 250R chassis and stuff. But it was my favorite time.
Yeah. So that was yes, like it was a very short-lived period, but I think it's one that, I mean, we talk about it on every show. Like that's one that so many people are just infatuated with. And I found this quote during my research, and it's very much in line with the conversation that we had with Corey. But you guys, groups like Walsh and Legger, kind of with the conversation we had with Corey, you really paved the way for the 4-stroke phenomenon that was looming.
Well, we did for sure. And I say we as a whole, Wayne Henson, Tom Carlson,
yep,
Shane Hitt, all these big time people that really Wayne Meridian, because people don't even know it, but we were working on CR 250 powered 2-strokes too. And I built one for Wayne, and I built one for Goodman, and things like this. But yeah, that didn't work because the non-counterbalanced engine would not work in a 4-wheeler chassis successfully.
Sure.
I witnessed. Harold was testing, and he snapped the tie rod right in half because the harmonics coming out, it was oscillating the rod. Yes, like 5 or 6 inches, and it snapped.
Oh my gosh!
It was like whipping the rod around, trying to get out of the chassis. So yeah. So, anyways, we go to the 4-stroke stuff, and that was just amazing because it really helped. It actually helped me a lot personally as a racer, and that was the biggest advancement I ever saw, is when we put that CRF in that low chassis. We built a tall one for Shane Hitt, and it's a whole story, and I actually listened to Shane's podcast, and he talks about when we did that, we came to Florida and we were down there, and Shane's like, why couldn't we make that frame rail removable? Well, that was what we were known for a long time, was that CRF with that removable frame rail. And that happened, that just happened in like 10 minutes. We're like, oh yeah, we could do that. So we went home, went to the drawing board, and we made that happen, and it was awesome. And then that chassis, that bike, I mean, you can even talk to people today, and I got a picture hanging up in the shop of mine, but that bike was the bike.
That's like your favorite. That's your baby.
That was the Chad Weenan Yamaha. Yeah,
okay.
that was the Chad Weenan Yamaha of before.
Okay.
So it was just great. Easy to ride, easy to go fast on, plenty of power, handled great, everything.
That's the perfect combo. So around, you're basically in the early 2000s era right now in the conversation. So what's your personal racing career looking like in the year 2000? Like, are you racing pro at that point? Tell me about that.
Oh yeah. I was racing pro, and with me, Shane likes to say stuff on Instagram that tries to embarrass me, and I mean, these guys, you got to realize we're racing against Tim Foss, Shane Hitt, Doug Gus, Travis Spader. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Just great names, great riders. Joe Bird. I mean, who can forget Bird? All those guys. And my personal career looked like I wanted to keep racing. I loved racing. Yep. But I had in the back of my mind that at some point I was going to have to support this family business venture. And that was just who I was. That was my calling. So I knew I wouldn't race forever. But I wanted to do a good job while I was racing. And I had a lot of people supporting me as a racer, which made you feel great. I mean, I tell Beth, my girlfriend now, I say nothing can replace, sitting, in Anaheim and on the gate, on the gate next to the best guys in the country, or Montreal Supercross, nothing can replace. Nothing even comes close. I hate to say that. People don't understand this.
Well, you're like a gladiator, right? Like, especially in your era, of racing in those stadiums against the greatest guys ever.
Yeah.
You're like a gladiator in the
it was
cathedral.
just amazing. The feeling I guess I'm sure everybody gets the same feeling, but you feel you're on top of the world.
Yeah.
You know, I don't touch on drugs and stuff, but like, you know, I'm
That's
sure
that's
that
the
high.
that's the natural high that drugs are
Right.
chasing. I'm not, you
Right.
know, I'm proud to be, you know, drug and alcohol free too. But that's what people are chasing, is that feeling. That's how amazing
They
that
are.
feeling is. Yeah.
You can't replace it. You maybe can find something to do.
They're chasing it.
But man, those days were just, I mean, you prepped all week, you prepped all year, you prepped your whole life to get to that spot in time where you're on the gate and you get a chance to win a moto or something, or to, it's just, I'm sure, all these athletes and stuff, they all go through the same stuff, but man, it was the most unforgettable moments in my life.
That's awesome.
Was actually on the line, racing those events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the like you said, there's no replacement for that feeling. Kind of that anxious anticipation is what all of us live for, so you love that feeling so much. But I'm stoked to touch on that too, because I think that so many younger people nowadays probably don't remember how gnarly you were as a rider, so I'm glad we're touching on that. And I think it was 2002 you won the NEATV pro title, right?
Yeah, it was. I was doing real well in District 34 in NEATV.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm sure I won, but I don't know if I won, but I would win a lot of races. I mean, you got to realize though, you might not have heard this name in a long time, but Joe Havisto.
Oh yeah.
Havisto.
Yeah.
Oh man, he came. I mean, he was super fast, unreal. He became just a monster rider. I mean, one year at Southwick with the best names in the business, Jeremiah Jones. I mean, nobody was as fast as Jeremiah. He went by everybody at Southwick. I mean, John Natale, all the, Joe, he was gone. And that was on a Walsh CRF 450.
Okay.
Hybrid. So
okay. I remember
dominating bike.
I remember posting about that because it's one of those things that we don't get in our sport very often. You sometimes see it in like motocross, like pro motocross racing, where like a local guy, comes out and does really well at the local track that he's able to, practice at on the regular. But yeah, like Joe Havisto, I think he did that in 2003. But yeah, I knew that you had been super successful up there. I was going to ask who you were racing back then. But yeah, like Havisto, racing him on the regular was obviously a huge thing, tough thing to do. And I guess that would have probably been your biggest accomplishment to that point. We'll get into what happened in 2003. You had a notable ride there, a couple of them, but that had to have been, your most notable ride to that point, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. Here's the ride that really got me excited was they had an invitational come to Southwick, and I was fast at Southwick, and
okay.
I knew the track.
Okay.
And Doug Gus showed up, and Doug, it was the Darren Nacarado Memorial. Okay. Yeah.
Max. Okay.
And
yep.
All the big boys were there. Well, the first moto of the qualifier, I ran away with it, and Doug got second, and I was just so happy about that.
Okay. That's amazing. Yeah. And especially in that time period, people weren't beating Gus. So to do that, that'll definitely put you on the map. And that same year, so that you won that title, NEATV in 2002, same year on the business side, you just touched on Digger. You worked with Digger to develop that iconic, 250R based DRZ 400 powered hybrid that's so legendary. And what we know now is that helped attract the support of factory Suzuki. So you were a big part of that.
Yeah, I was. Tom Carlson, Wayne Hinton, Doug Gus, all that crew right there. That bike, we built that, and Doug Gus. And don't don't quote me, but I believe it was the first electric start bike ATV ever to win a pro motocross, and it was the first 4-stroke ever to win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge. And I've heard, and this is not, and don't quote me on this, but I have heard that they use that in the development of Suzuki used that bike in their ATV development. Let's just call it that.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think I've heard that. I think that Doug kind of told us that same thing. I think you can clearly connect the dots there. So, plot twist, Mike, Walsh Racecraft played a role in the end of the hybrid pro class era and helped usher in the factories and their production based quads in years to come. Mike, that's wild. I would have never guessed.
Yeah, that is wild.
That doesn't make any sense. So did that Suzuki connection, because you were obviously part of that, kind of that build, you were part of that with Digger. Did that Suzuki connection have anything to do with you riding a Z400 in 03, or was that simply because of the pro production class and then that whole deal?
No, that was simply because of the pro production class. It was funny because we wanted to work heavily with the Suzuki team. Mm-hmm. But Doug Roll, a friend of mine, actually a person I look up to, especially when I was a kid.
Okay.
He actually had that. He had that deal. It was Roll Design, the Z400 Roll Design. Roll was huge back. Him and IMS made a huge push back then, and they were connected with that whole deal. But with me, the Z400 was the clear choice for the championship chase, I believe. Then, because that was when production, that was when pro production, and that was really cool. You had pro production and then you had pro. Well, pro, you could run the hybrids, you did 2 strokes, the 4 strokes, whatever you want. Pro production, you had to run what the manufacturer was making.
And that's when that year 2003 was when you came out and you ended up winning the pro production championship on the TT side. So that has to be like if you type in, Mike Walsh ATV and you're looking up pictures of, your ATV racing career. I feel like it's 10-1 TT pictures. I don't know if it's just from that title or whatever it is. But that was a huge accomplishment for you to win that pro production TT title in 03. That's huge.
That was huge for me. And that bike just worked so good. And Curtis Sparks had that motor running. It was an animal.
Okay.
And Shane had one. And, that bike just worked great. I don't know. It's just some of them, you know what I mean? You get that golden, I know Chad's program is so methodical. It's so dialed in. All of his bikes are the same. Everything's great, but back then, when this learning curve was going on, every bike didn't work great. Some worked great, some didn't.
Right.
That was a good one for me. And I won a lot of motos on that. And I was able to win that. And that was it. It was a huge accomplishment, but a lot of people don't even know I rode, but a lot of people don't really know that I had a huge TT background. And I'm not a really small person, like 6'2", back then I was probably 185, 180. Yep. But, Shane, he was he was not that big, and he was unarguably the fastest man ever on TT. Harold was real fast. Farr was real fast. I mean, there's a lot of fast guys. Keith Little was real fast, but Shane was really fast. And
so originally,
I worked with Shane a lot in that.
Yeah. So originally from Connecticut, moves to Florida. I would have thought you would have been a sand rider primarily. And you said you were good at Southwick and stuff, but for whatever reason, I've always known that you were a strong TT guy. Didn't know necessarily where that came from with your background, but you were definitely a TT kind of connoisseur.
Yeah, I really liked racing TT. It was very high intensity, and it was very high intensity. It was really, really tight racing, and it really wasn't about, Shane made a comment. It really wasn't about who was in the best shape. I mean, you had to be in shape, but see, motocross is a whole different level. Pro motocross is a whole different level. I
Yeah.
mean, it's some people can go fast for a lap or two, but pro motocross. So you didn't have to put the training in on the TT. You could have a little bit of talent, and you could have a good bike setup. And I think that helped me out, just understanding how the chassis worked, weight distribution, things like that. Just trying to be one step ahead, and having a lighter ATV than the next person, and putting that development to that.
Yeah.
So I think it helped. I think the bike helped slightly more than it does in motocross to a degree.
Okay.
If you can understand that.
Yeah, that actually it totally makes sense as you started to say it, because like TT, I love TT, but TT is so much about, hitting your marks and being precise, so much different than, top tier motocross where you just have to be gnarly. But like that part makes sense, that knowing your setup and being good with setup, which is so important in TT. We just heard about it with Shane, and I know that from my dad's background racing TT and flat track. But that actually makes so much sense with your engineering background and building this stuff, knowing how it works, that you would be a good TT rider. That makes so much sense.
As the #1 podcast in ATV racing, it's only right that we partner with the industry leaders in suspension tuning. Insert Impact Solutions. Impact Solutions is a full-service ATV and side-by-side suspension center specializing in the revalving and service of your motocross and off-road suspension. With over 25 years of elite-level knowledge, experience, and testing with riders of all ages and ability levels, Casey Greek, Jay Goebel, and the Impact crew strive to exceed clients' expectations for service and setup. Impact Solutions is the official Elka Suspension Service Center of the United States, offering unmatched product knowledge and experience. Whether you're in need of service, parts, warranty, sales, or technical support, Impact Solutions has you covered. Head over to impactsolutionsatv.com or give them a call today.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The following message is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has outdone themselves this time, creating the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, now available for purchase in the US and Canada. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, with this exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0 and I am blown away. This thing is next level. What sets this trimmer apart from all the rest? The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. It features a new multi-functioning on-off switch with travel lock for those of us who like to travel. And my favorite, the new trimmer allows you to customize your trim with 4 different guard lengths, an upgrade from its predecessor that only featured 2. If you're listening, you know that good tools are a must, so wait no more to get the best tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using code DiggingDeep20. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is also sponsored by DP Brakes, a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology. DP has been dominating the ATV world for decades, supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. 2021's impressive lineup includes Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli of the Phoenix Racing Team, myself, Cody Jansen, and my back-to-back national championships, Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, Wesley Wolf, and many more, including all of the top 14 GNCC Series pros, led by the champ Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, and Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on the top of the podium. Available at www.dp-brakes.com, purchase at your local dealer, or message the show for their contact info today. What are you waiting for? Join the best ATV riders in the world on DP Brakes. 15 years into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back with us and continuing to make huge waves in the ATV world. For the second consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for some of the fastest riders on the planet. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of products available for all makes and models. Want to be just like Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli riding with Factory 43's industry-leading products? Head over to factory43atv.com today.
Success in the ATVMX world is similar to what creates financial success as well. The right people, the right advice, and more importantly, hard work and the benefit of an ongoing relationship as situations change and adversity is experienced. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you reach your goals? Haymauer Financial Group can create a personalized, goal-based plan to help your family prepare for whatever life brings. Call me, Scott Haymauer, at Haymauer Financial Group, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, at 920-338-8150. That's 920-338-8150. Offices located in beautiful De Pere, Wisconsin, with registrations and clients nationwide.
Transitioning out of the TT thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but at Budds Creek that year, 2003, you probably or might have experienced the career highlight for you as a racer when you finished on the podium in Moto 1 behind Gust and Jones. Doug Gust, Jeremiah Jones, and Mike Walsh were the top three in Moto 1 that day. Tell me about that race, because that has to be, it's obviously an incredible feat. That's got to be a career highlight for you.
It's definitely a career highlight. It was probably my best moto.
Yeah.
In reality, I mean, because it was outdoor motocross, it was gnarly. I went the distance. Really, and I can't emphasize this enough, but confidence in your equipment and confidence in yourself is a huge part of motocross. And I was at a high. I started working with a gentleman. Columbia Motorsports was helping me, Kyle Champagne, and I had a guy that believed in me, and we were doing, he started coming to races with me, and my dad started to stay home because he had business and this and that. So he was coming to the races with me, and he was giving me some confidence, just from working with me. And I think that's where I learned how to work with the riders, the successful riders that I had out of Walsh Race Craft. I think because of me working with him, it helped me. And so that moto, I felt confident on the track. I felt confident with all the jumps. I knew I had a good bike. I knew I had good suspension, and I had Jeff in my corner, who's pitting for me and wrenching on the bike. The bike was good, and I just felt good. And I got a good start. And I said, you know what, Mike, this is your turn to show that you can ride one of these things. So I gave it everything I had. Keith Little at the end was just all over me. I was done. But I made it. And with two, with Doug Gust up there and Jeremiah up there, I mean, arguably two of the best people ever to ride a four-wheeler, and me finished the third in that moto. It was great. It was awesome. It was not given to me. I rode it. I made it happen. I didn't back it up so well in the second moto, but it was okay with me because, like I said, I wasn't necessarily there to win. I was really there to just do my best and to develop my product. And I wasn't there to get in any gnarly, crashes or take anybody out or getting any points battles. I was racing, I was doing my best, but like I said, I also had a lot of the people riding my parts. So even if Doug won, it was a win for me.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. Which is actually awesome that you were able to do that and kind of have that mentality. Like, sounds like you were able to enjoy it. I mean, having somebody believe in you and confidence and all those things is such a huge, huge boost, when you're going racing. But yeah, like to be able to have all these guys using your products and then also be out there as a racer and enjoy it that way is such an awesome combo. And to think that, this ride, when podiumed a moto like that, to do it with, Doug Gust and Jeremiah Jones, two of the most iconic riders ever, to do it with those guys is pretty special. So to have that memory for you, I mean, that's invaluable. How many guys can say that they podiumed a pro moto, let alone with two legends? So that's awesome. How long did you continue to race professionally after that then, Mike? Because obviously Walsh is, gaining momentum at this point. How much longer did you race professionally?
Well, so I basically threw in the towel like 04,
okay,
4-ish, I guess you would say.
So shortly thereafter ish.
Well, yeah, because when I was a kid, I had dreams, and then realities took over. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I hate to say this because I talk to Chad now. Chad's a good personal friend of mine and somebody I actually admire a lot.
Yeah.
And, Chad still has the drive to win, and it's not fake. It's real. And he has a family. He has kids. Mm-hmm. He does so much, juggles it all. And he has a great support group, but Chad is one of those people, and for me, a moto like that, man, I hate to say it, but that lasts a lifetime for me. I didn't really need, like, I did it, and yeah, I wanted a race while I was at the top of my game, but I knew that it was enough for me. Mm-hmm. I did have some great rides, after that, but shortly thereafter, like you said, I hung it up.
So you didn't have necessarily the passion for, racing every weekend or whatever, but did some of the decision, was some of the decision made with a want to focus solely on Walsh Racecraft? Was that part of the decision?
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. I mean, I knew my talents, my true talents were at the welding bench. Okay. That's where I could bring the sport more, and I could bring it for more years. Mm-hmm. I could bring it for a lifetime. Mm-hmm. Where the racing, I knew even if I was the best, it would still come to an end. But with the product line, that could go on for generations. Mm-hmm. So I knew in my mind, not downgrading any of these athletes, they're amazing. But in my mind, it was more about the big picture for me.
Yeah.
What I could bring to the sport.
Right. I mean, yes, like your impact could be much broader. Right. With what you brought through Walsh Racecraft. That totally makes sense to me, because I'm a guy who, and I've said it on the show before, as a racer, this is, totally different things, but kind of the same at the same time, because as a racer, I got to a point where, like I was like, what am I doing this for? Like, I love the sport, but what am I doing this for? Who's benefiting from me doing this? Who cares about what I'm doing? And all of a sudden I fall into, doing this radio show, and it's doing a ton of great things for the sport. People really enjoy it. I've had countless people say to me that they're back, loving and into the sport and riding again because of listening to us talk about old racing stories and, the love for it that we have and all this stuff. So I can totally relate to what you're saying, and that obviously was the right decision at that point, Mike, because Walsh Racecraft went on an incredible run at that point, because Doug Gust, using Walsh products on his factory Suzuki ride in 04, he dominates the field on his way to that title. And listen to what followed. Joe Bird went back-to-back in 06 and 07 using your products. Chris Borich won 6 consecutive GNCC championships on Walsh stuff from 09 to 2014. And that obviously pretty much gets us into the dominance of, this Wienen and Hetrick era that we're now in, with those guys being aboard Walsh products throughout that time. So talk about an incredible run. And I guess, what that leads me to is asking you, like, does it ever hit you when you look down the line and there's such an overwhelming Walsh presence? Like, holy shit, man, like, I could have never imagined the impact I would have. And you go to a track and, there's probably more Walsh products there than any, competitors at an ATV national. What does that feel like for you? That just has to be amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And that's kind of what I do it to. I'm a people pleaser, to a certain degree. I love to see people, just riding their heart out, and having a good time and being safe, having good equipment, and getting to fulfill their passion, maybe with their family, their mom, their dad, and meeting these families. And to see that, I mean, it's great. I mean, working with Chad and Joel is amazing. Joel's super talented. Josh Creamer, one of my personal friends. I didn't even tell you guys that story. I mean, I got stories and stories and stories, but like, Josh, probably nobody even really knows this stuff. But when I was phasing myself out of racing, Josh was just getting into racing, and he lived right next to me, 15, 20 minutes. Okay. So we started riding in a local sand pit together, and I'm like, oh my God, he's one of the reasons why I decided to stop racing, because I'm like, this dude's riding some clapped out Yamaha YFZ. I'm on my hybrid, or I think I was, maybe I was on another Yamaha, but I'm like, this guy's just as fast as I am, and I'm a seasoned, I've been doing this my whole life. This dude comes out of nowhere, and he has just got something. I knew he had something, and right away I was a Josh Creamer fan. Josh actually worked at my shop building A-arms. Probably not many people know that one. Okay. So I mean, it goes on and on. I have personal relationships with a lot of these riders, and personally, not just relationships, but friendships that'll last forever. Yeah, that's awesome. And so seeing those people on the line is awesome, and building those friendships and bonds with the riders and the people involved in the sport. And just like you said, I want to touch on that, how you said, you took your passion, you turned it into the show. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about, man. I mean, some people might be like, or actually I had a personal feeling in myself that, I was quitting, or I was stopping, or I wasn't holding myself. But you know what? When you have a desire, when you have something pulling at you to shift gears, that's that rev limiter. When that rev limiter's on, you got to pull the next gear. Yeah. And by you doing that is admirable.
Yeah. Well, and kind of touching on that, for so many people, whether it's this sport or some kind of athletic or whatever it is, the reason why people have a tough transition from being an athlete or a professional athlete into the next stage of their life is because for some people, there's no translation. When you stop being an athlete or whatever, you can't, some of that just, you can't bring to your next profession. That's why, you have athletes that go on to be real estate agents or, God knows what. And for you, or for even what I'm doing with Digging Deep, like everything, like my whole life, like the culmination of everything I've ever done, lived, experienced, all that stuff helps me in these conversations. It helps me, create conversations that people want to listen to. Same with you. It's awesome. Like that's what everybody dreams of, is having, something, all the experience that you had. So your first life as a racer, and then being able to bring all of that into Walsh Racecraft as your profession for the rest of your life. Like that's what everybody dreams of. That's a blessing.
Yeah, it is. And I agree. I agree with everything you're saying and doing. And I do want to touch on one thing. I have watched your show, and I am very impressed with your show. You have a sick show, and it's probably your background, your father, your racing background, your heritage, all that. And but let's not even just touch on that. Let's touch on your vocabulary and your dialect and how you deliver things. And it was funny. This is kind of funny. When you first doing the show, you turned the recorder on and you started doing all that. I thought that was recorded, but you're sitting there doing it. I mean, that was great.
Right. Well, I appreciate that, pal. We work hard at it. And you know what? I tell guests like yourself, people would never want to listen to me talk for, hours at a time. So we're just here because of you, to have awesome guests like you on our show and tell your story, and continuing to tell that story. And thanks for all the kind words, of course, but continuing to tell your story. So when you walked away from full-time racing as an athlete, you almost had to go instantly into supporting Jeremy Lawson's program. Like there wouldn't have been, but maybe a year in between there. Maybe it was right away. And that ended up, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was somewhat factory Honda affiliated, supported, right? So tell me about that. How did you find yourself into kind of leading that program of his? Because I think that must have been 06, and you said you ended racing full-time in 04. So that was a pretty abrupt shift to going from racer to kind of fielding a race program for a top tier rider.
Well, this is what happened. When we decided we were moving to Florida, that's when I quit racing, basically.
Yep.
Maybe a year before that, getting everything ready. Come down. We were not going to race. We were done. We were done racing. We were over. It was over. So I moved to Florida. We started the business. Walt Baum, me, my mom, my dad, and my brother. And Walt was my right hand man at the time, fabricator, welder, great guy. Okay. So we were down here, and what happened was I ended up missing it so bad. And then you're right. It was only like the next year that Jeremy Lawson had a factory Suzuki ride, right? And he broke his neck, and he was going to ride under Wayne Henson as a satellite rider. Well, things fell through. I don't know the ins and outs. I probably do, but I probably don't, not enough to say it. Right. So his mom, who was a very supportive woman, especially to Jeremy's career, buys him a Honda. And I called Jeremy, and we're talking, and I said, you know what, man? You get in your truck, you bring that Honda down here, let's go racing. Oh, wow. So that's what happened. We did it. We had some help. We had some help. Tommy Totillo, you probably know Tommy.
I do. Yeah,
he was a big part of the program. We went racing. We trained real hard with Don Blue Rock Construction. We really get in that. And Jeremy Lawson, there was nobody that trains harder than Jeremy Lawson, and there was nobody that practiced harder than Jeremy Lawson.
Okay.
And we went to California, and he ended up in the first moto running a fifth, and that was with all the big boys. So the second moto wasn't quite as good. We came back, we kept grinding. We did WPSA. We did it all. We did I bought a truck, trailer, the whole 9 yards. We did it all. And that was my transition from rider to race team owner. Okay. And I say mine, that was Walsh Race Craft's transition to me riding to now having a rider.
Right.
And Jeremy and me and Jeremy had an incredible bond, an incredible relationship. And we ended up doing so well that we got but we got a factory supported effort from Honda. And his mom helped out on that. She did most of the legwork on that deal and got him the Honda ride. Okay. And we went to work again. And Jeremy came out, and and that's where Chad Weenan made the explosion on the scene.
Yep.
And I knew we were going to be the fastest people at Iona Pass. I said, we had titanium arms on the bike. We had it all. Jeremy was trained. I just knew in my heart that we were going to come out swinging. Well, Jeremy did win the race, but he didn't win the moto. And Chad Weenan gapped everybody by a mile. And I was like, holy cow, who is this guy? And of course I knew Chad, and Chad was, and let me tell you guys something. Chad was not Chad that back then. You talk to Chad, he was like a surfer. I mean, and I remember Chad distinctly. My mom talks about Chad to this day about him calling the shot because he was a completely different. I mean, he was the same guy, but he wasn't the Chad Weenan. He wasn't the Chad Weenan. He's a different Chad Weenan. I mean,
he was a kid.
He's grown, but it was funny. And then Chad Weenan became that guy that that Jeremiah Jones, that Tim Barr, that Shane Hitt, that guy, that fastest guy in the world. And that was at that same era. That was 07.
It is. Yeah. It's funny that all came to a head at the same time. I mean, like Chad has this aura about him. I mean, he's got like this Tom Brady like aura about him. We
always say, like
he's
me and
ridiculous.
Beth always say he's the Tom Brady of four-wheeler racing.
It's the truth. Like I said, he's just so buttoned up, like everything. It's just so business-like. I mean, I mean, everybody wants to try to be like Chad. I don't care what anybody says, the way he goes about his business, the way, I mean, just all his I's are dotted, T's are crossed. It's amazing. We'll get into Chad a little bit, but yeah, that's awesome to hear about Jeremy, especially how it all came together. It just kind of fell into place. And now all of a sudden, you got this race team and you're super successful and Honda's supporting it and all that stuff. And, so you bow out as an athlete and now you find yourself, you're supporting a bunch of top racers. They're using your product. You're, supporting, you have this full race team effort, and Walsh Racecraft is growing exponentially, even though you weren't doing the racing anymore. That had to be a ton to juggle at the same time, because trying to, keep this race program going and traveling and going to all these races and doing all this stuff, and then also keep the shop in line, at the same time like that. I don't know that everybody understands how big of a deal that is.
Yeah, it's kind of the people that had my back made all that possible. Okay. So my brother and my mom and my dad were helping me run the shop. And things were growing. This didn't just all manifest in a year or anything, so there was stages as this all grew and came to fruition. So, so yeah, I just felt good. It was just a good time in my life where I felt like I was in the right spot that that Mike Walsh needed to be. That's where I was. And I loved working with Jeremy. I loved working with Cody Gibson. I love working with all my riders. And it was a gift. I honestly feel like I had a gift. Everybody we worked with turned to gold in their own little way,
Yes.
And, it was just, I mean, I'm a Christian, but I'm not a one of these spiritual, I know
where you're going. I understand. I do. Yep. I do.
But it just was working out for me at the time. And, I guess I had a lot of heart. I had a lot of passion for the sport and for the riders. And I actually I love the road. I mean, I love being, I'm an extrovert. I feel like, but it's funny because I live in my shop.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Got no choice. So you just touched on him. You just said his name. This next subject is one that so many listeners want to hear about.
Insurance. It's not something everyone likes to talk about, but let's face it, if you race motocross, it's something you should have. Integrated Financial Concepts is an independent financial service and insurance firm who offers moto-friendly insurance and helps out riders like Nick Janusa, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Joel Hetrick gain confidence on the track. With their unique Safe to Race and Safe to Ride programs, if you qualify, they have the ability to offer life insurance with living benefits to those who ride. With these living benefits, you may have the ability to access a portion of your life insurance policy while you're still living for things like cancer, heart attack, stroke, or chronic illness. They can also help with many other things, such as home, auto, motorhome, and trailer insurance, as well as college planning, special needs planning, payroll processing, as well as group health benefits for your business. So whether something happens on or off the track, Integrated Financial Concepts has you covered. With their complimentary one-on-one appointments, what are you waiting for? Reach out to Mike Daniele at DANIELE_Michael at nlgroupmail.com today and see how Integrated Financial Concepts can help you. Living benefit riders are supplemental benefits that can be added to a life insurance policy and are not suitable unless you have the need for life insurance. Riders are optional and may require additional premium and may not be available in all states or on all products. This is not a solicitation for any specific insurance policy.
Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC has been supplying riders with aftermarket components from the industry's top brands for over a decade. With over 80,000 products in stock for your ATVs, UTVs, metric and HD motorcycles, dirt bikes, and snowmobiles, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC can tend to all your power sports needs, from hard parts to riding gear. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads also offers hard-to-find used parts for your vintage dirt bike, ATV, three-wheeler, or snowmobile. Use discount code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for 10% off of orders of $100 or more. We're grateful to have Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC digging deep with us. Thank you, BTQ LLC. We are proud to be partnered with Gripped Gloves. Gripped is an ATV rider owned and operated brand with the rider in mind and the goal of keeping costs affordable. The Michigan-based family operation recognizes riders' desire to showcase their identity. Owner David Payne's love for eccentric colorways and crazy patterns shows in his product, something not often found in the work of big manufacturers. Here to push stereotypes and limitations, Grip's drive is to produce a glove with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. With comfort and quality as key motivators, the family affair is constantly working on the next more innovative and improved glove. Get a grip on life, join the Gripped movement, because no one wants a bland glove. Check them out today at grippedgloves.com, that's GRIPT gloves.com, and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save at checkout. Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Londonville family at Londonville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Londonville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products, headlined by their 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Londonville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the concrete division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSC to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to laundervillesteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show.
You look at the Kid Rock song, he's packing up his game. He's going to head out west. Right. I mean, that's what we do. We pack up our game, and we head to the track and we bring what we had. And it was awesome.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. That's awesome.
It was great. But, I hate to say it, but those days they've come to an end for Mike. They've come to an end for me. I love going to the track. I love going to the track. I loved working with Chad. But with the transition that my shop went through, with Dad passing and me losing one of my right-hand men, things changed, and this is where we are now. But those days were awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, we can always relive all those times, so that part is a good thing. And this next subject, you kind of just said his name, but this next subject is one that so many listeners want to hear about. So tell me the story of how you first got connected with Cody Gibson.
Oh man, I can remember the day. I was down here in Florida. I guess my brother had seen this guy ride or saw him at Loretta's. I guess this guy you couldn't take anywhere. This guy you could not take anywhere. It's like best thing I could say, it's like, all right, so it's like pulling up in a Lamborghini when you were with Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson was that Lamborghini. Basically, you couldn't go anywhere without him drawing a crowd. Everybody loved him. Yeah. He was tiny. When I first met him, he walked in my shop and he had a Superman, because I had lost Jeremy to Can-Am. So we weren't racing, and I said I wasn't going back racing. Okay. Well, this kid walks into the shop with his dad with a big Superman belt buckle on, really long hair, and an accent, and I didn't even know what he was saying. I couldn't even understand the kid.
So like
they wanted me to. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. And he wanted me to go watch him ride. I said, I'll go watch you ride. Goes and the dad sits down with me, and he's like, what would it take for you to bring this kid to the track? So I told him what it would take. They agreed. And then, it wasn't like a lot. It was just what it was going to take to get this program started. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the kid, I mean, we butted heads a little bit, because Cody's, he's a very, I mean, to do what he did on that ATV, you had to be strong-headed, right?
Right.
So he was very hard-headed. Like, he wanted to shift the bike a certain way. And I said, you cannot shift the bike this way. It's not going to work. You're going to leave trannies everywhere. Uh-huh. So, so we worked through stuff, and that kid, man, I had so much fun with him. We would do everything together, and we just had like a really good friendship, and I did everything I could to put him up front, and he's kind of the reason why we started the Walsh Racecraft engine program.
Okay.
Because we needed an in-house program at that time when we had, we were working with Curtis Sparks on the Honda program and Mike from ATP and a couple other people on the Honda program.
Mm-hmm.
But on Cody's program, we took that all in-house. And when we did that, we focused on it, and we had some money to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
And we made it happen. But this kid, I mean, I'm talking about the biggest jump he hit first lap.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and he just do it because that was who he was.
Yes.
He wanted to show you that he was the baddest dude wherever he went.
Yeah.
And that's really what it was about.
And he did. So the story goes that his first year racing nationals, he won the A-class title. In the second year, he won 8 overalls on his way to a Pro-Am Unlimited championship. And that would have been in 2008. So that would have been on the Suzuki at that time. Yeah. Right.
That's right. Yep. He loved the damn Suzuki, and he could ride the crap out of it. That's
Right.
how we developed the hybrid. But,
right.
Well, actually, that's a whole different story. But this story, so in 2009, after he dominated on this Suzuki, and it was carbureted, which was really cool. That's when we brought the carburetor to the Suzuki. We did that with Gibson, and people don't really know why. Nobody, like, I don't know what Trump does. I don't know what the government's doing, and I'm not, trying to mix that stuff, but you don't really know why we're running a carburetor, but it was really for some simplicity. It was really that I didn't want to bring this kid to a track and have problems, because they were having a lot of problems here and there with the injection on the Suzuki at that time. It was all new. And plus, the rev box, the black boxes were really secretive. There was no vortex at the time and all that. So, we decided to do this, and it worked out for us, and the bikes made good power. But then we started working with Jimmy White and the boys and Creamer. And that's why Creamer run the number 9. I can remember where I was.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I was sitting at, that was my number.
Yes, it was the shop, and then it goes on to kind of be the shop number, but yes.
Because then Parker asked Creamer for it, and Creamer relinquished it. But I can remember Creamer said, "You better not be a slouch. You better go fast."
That's funny. That's funny.
So anyways, it ended up 97 was the shop number, purely because the shop was founded in 97.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So 9 became my number because Jason Luberg, I wanted 8. Jason Luberg had dibs on number. That was when everybody was getting a permanent number. So I settled for 9. And then I rode my heart out on 9. And then Josh Kawasaki Josh was 270.
Yep.
And he called himself the 270 Love Machine. And then we had pictures hanging because, like I said, he worked at the shop and stuff. But we got so Josh called me. I was at Applebee's, I believe, in Lake City, and he called me and he said Jimmy White wanted him, or Reed, or somebody wanted him to have a single digit number. So he said, "I want to have your number." So I said, of course you can have my number.
Right.
Please take it. You're the man.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
And he went on to win the championship. So that was really cool. But
that ties into the Kawasaki's for 2009.
Right.
And did you guys have factory? So you did, because you talked about Jimmy. You had factory support for 2009.
We were supporting the factory team with Walsh Race Craft, and Kawasaki was supporting Walsh Race Craft and Cody Gibson.
Okay.
And I don't even want our numbers. I will bet you Cody Gibson was the most successful pro racer financially ever in ATV racing. He did very well that year. Kawasaki stepped up. They really gave him an excellent ride. And he rode his heart out for Kawasaki. We didn't do so when we made our pro debut under the tent for Jimmy and the boys.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't perform. I mean, we didn't perform. We weren't ready. We didn't perform. But by that time, the history was pretty much already solidified for Cody and Kawasaki and whatever. But it kind of right. So Cody rode for Cowie. He did very well. He won a lot of races.
Oh, you guys won everything that year. I mean, 10 overall wins on your way to titles in both of the Pro-Am classes. At that point, you know, so take me into your thinking at that time. Like, were you thinking the sky is the limit with this kid? Because I mean, his natural ability was ridiculous. So what did you see? Like, when you thought about him in the pro class, you know, what do you think his pro prospects were like at that time? What were you thinking? Because I just remember thinking to myself, I can't imagine Cody doing anything but contending in the pro class. I mean, at that time, that seemed like it was obvious. He was so dominant in Pro-Am. It was like I would have bet every dime I had, which wouldn't have been much then, but I would have bet every dime I had that he was going to be a successful pro. So take me, you know, through that thinking as, you know, kind of before you guys transitioned into the full-time pro class, but what did you imagine he was going to do when he went pro?
Well, this is a good subject. I do want to be truthful, but I don't want to take anything away from Cody. Yeah, I don't want to talk negatively about Cody at all because he's arguably probably the most talented person that I've ever witnessed ride an ATV, honestly.
Yeah.
But I knew after working with Jeremy Lawson and a couple of the other top athletes out there, I knew that Cody was not that guy. He was not the guy that was going to go and give you, 2 40-minute motos daily and put the gym work in and all that. He would give you 110% on the track, but off the track, he wasn't serious enough to beat a Chad Wienen.
Sure.
But would he beat him for 3 laps? Probably.
Right. So do you think that came from just being so darn naturally talented? Like, because he didn't have to work super hard to go as fast as he did, if that makes sense, right?
No, it does. And Cody is very talented at almost everything he does.
Sure.
So yes, I do, but I just feel like Cody had other visions. I mean, his dad was successful in the home building and he come from Tennessee and man, I never been to a place like his place when I went there.
Okay.
Definitely, the hills of Tennessee. Like I said, Cody, we are incredibly tight, but he just had a different mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Cody liked to have fun. All right. So if we were driving down the road and Cody saw a steakhouse, I mean, we stop, we go eat, we have a good time,
Mm-hmm.
but Jeremy wouldn't, Jeremy be sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber,
mm-hmm.
Because he was that serious.
Right.
So it's just different mentalities. And you have to know the rider that you're working with. Like I knew lap for lap and nobody's going to run with Cody, but after 25 minutes, I mean, they're going to run there. He's not going to run that pace.
I understand
because, Cody would make a few mistakes. I mean, he was just that fast. He could get away with mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer, I hope I answered that question.
You do. Yeah,
good.
You do. I was just curious, like what you were thinking going into that, so when the pro thing is getting lined up and you knew how physically, how physically maybe that wasn't his strength, but he could ride as fast as anybody. It sounds like you knew that already because it was a shame to see what happened. In 2010, Cody goes pro full time and that must've been the Mushin year.
It was,
but I mean, that was a disappointment. Like, I don't think that anybody would have guessed that was going to happen. I mean, 2 top 10 finishes, he ended up, that ended up being his career highlight in the pro class, a pair of 9ths, which, 2 ninths and being 15th in points isn't Cody Gibson. Like that's not at all what he was capable of. And that, I think that ruined Cody. He didn't come back for 2011, and he's a guy that, we ended up racing in the years after that, but he's a guy that, like we all knew what he was capable of. And I think that he's a guy, I've asked him to come on the show a few times, and I wish he would, because not because I want to grill him. I mean, that's not why I'm asking you this. It's more that I want to give him credit, because what we saw in the pro class, like that just wasn't him. Like that wasn't him. He was in the speed we saw before that and the speed we saw after that, we saw what he was capable of, and he should be proud of that. Like he is a legend. So that's why I wanted to get him on here. And I still hope he does, because people want to hear from him. Like it's nothing to be ashamed about, I guess is what I'm getting at.
No, I mean, I will have Cody's back no matter. I mean, Cody is Cody, just like you said, he's a legend. But the thing of it is, he went pro. He didn't have a support system. He didn't have Walsh Race Craft, right? He didn't have, he had a support system, but he didn't have the support system he was used to. Yeah. Everything changed for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, he was still on a Suzuki, but Cody was a superstar in Pro-Am, right? He had a factory ride, Kawasaki, he won everything. Listen, when you're at the top, there's only one place to go. And that's a lot of weight on your shoulders, where you're the hottest thing, you're the hottest thing in the sport. Yeah. And now you got to back that up, and you're on a completely different team. I mean, he was a kid, he wasn't, he wasn't a 30-year-old man or anything. But Cody, right. I got Cody when he was 17, maybe, you know what I mean?
And I always thought of this, Mike, and maybe it's weird to say it like this, but the way I always thought about it is it was James Stewart-like, where the pressure and everything and the expectations were so high. They were so high that they weren't even realistic. Like I felt bad for Cody for that reason.
And they were, because they were, and that's really what it was, because you can't put anybody in that pro class. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Joel Hetrick. Joel Hetrick's Joel Hetrick. I can't believe, Chad Wiener's Chad Wiener, but I can't believe Joel Hetrick doesn't have more championships. I cannot believe that. I know it. Hetrick, Chad is Chad. It's crazy, because I'm good friends with both of them. Obviously me and Chad have a very close relationship. But Joel is this superpower, Superman with 2 championships. Well,
but if Chad wasn't there, Joel would have 8, legitimately.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Right. And that's just the whole thing. And I've talked, and I don't want Joel or Chad to take this in the wrong way. I don't want the sport to take this in the wrong way. Let's look at the sport if Chad and Joel weren't there. And it would be so much more exciting. Gate drops, Chad and Joel out front. That's it. Race is done.
But at the same time, we're seeing 2 of the greatest ever at the same time.
Well, you are. You'll never see anybody ride a four-wheeler like these 2 guys.
And the problem is,
it sucks to be.
We're lucky, Mike, that we have both of them, because if we only had one of them, it would suck.
Yeah, for sure. But look at, and I love talking this stuff, and I know you do too. Yeah. But look at my guys. Look at Nick Janusa. Look at Ford. Look at these guys that have been. Look at Rastrelli. These guys have been grinding, and this is just a couple names.
Yeah.
But they are still a long. I hate to say it, they're still a long ways from Joel and Chad. And I'm going to put Joel and Chad in the same category, because to me, they are in the same category. They're equal titans of their day.
Yeah, right. It's splitting hairs between those guys.
It is. I could tell you a story when me and Chad went, and dude, Chad is. So he's so mentally tough. He's just such a mentally tough. We're going into the last moto, right? Mm-hmm. I'm personally wrenching for Chad. It's just me and Chad. And Dan, and all the crew. But so we're going into the last moto. too much. We're at Loretta's, right? And we're down in points. And I'm thinking to myself, there ain't no way we're winning. Joel's chain falls off. Like, but that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is, if you were to look at Chad and talk to Chad, you would have think he was going into that moto with the points lead. That's how mentally tough he is. I've never, I was inside. I don't want to say I was already beat, but let's just say I was already beat going into that last moto. But I mean, I wasn't going to leave a bolt or a nut. I was very meticulous. I'm a very meticulous person. And,
Sure.
That bike was going to be as good as it could be. But in my heart, I'm thinking there's no way we're coming out of here with the title. And this dude goes and gets it. In my mind, he never thought twice that he wasn't the champ. That's how crazy it was.
Right.
For me, it was a personal experience for me that I'll never forget.
Right. I believe it. So we have a ton of content. We haven't even finished the Gibson topic. We got Chad coming up. We need to talk Joel Hetrick. We have a million things to go yet. What do you say we hit pause on this thing for now, so that, we can come in full blazing for the second part of this interview. We can record it next week or whatever. How does that sound to you? Is that all right?
That sounds awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah, let's do that.
I love this show. Like you're killing it with the content, and I'll, whenever you need me, like you want to do it next week, whatever, just let me know. I'll be there.
Yeah, let's do that, Mike, because we have so much fun stuff to talk about yet. In the first, kind of segment here, we covered a bunch of your racing in the early days of Walsh, but I don't want to have to race through all the stuff, the great stuff that we have left. So let's just hit pause on this thing, and we'll pick it up next week for another episode. I think that's the best way to handle this.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, Mike, I appreciate you doing this so much. I think, like you said a few times, you enjoy doing this stuff just as much as I do, and look forward to the second installment of this thing.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on the show, Cody.
Thanks so much, Mike. We'll be in touch.
I'll see you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks again. Bye.
To be continued. What an epic conversation, and I can confidently say I think the best is yet to come in part 2. Next week, you'll hear more about Mike's time with Cody Gibson and Cody's return to ATV racing, when Nick DeNoble had the best season of his career as a fill-in rider for the Walsh team, Parker Weworka, the major role Mike had in the development of Chad Wienan's program from day one to present, wrenching for the now 8-time champ and being named Mechanic of the Year, some current racing talk, and so much more. Major thanks to tonight's guest, Mr. Mike Walsh. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother, for all his hard work. Thanks to Brooke and AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to our donors. You know who you are. We appreciate you so much. Thanks to our newest partner, Binky's Forever ATC Museum. So grateful for those guys. Thanks to all of our partners, CST Tires, shop.csttires.com, Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew, thanks to Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Londonville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of Haymauer Financial Group, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bike Strikes and Quads LLC, Integrated Financial Concepts and their Safe to Race and Safe to Ride insurance programs, Manscaped, get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. And again, thanks to Binky's Forever ATC Museum. You'll hear their official ad starting on next week's show, so stay tuned for that. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. Find it all on our website, and be sure to click those Rocky Mountain ATVMC and Amazon banners for all your gear and parts needs, everyday needs, and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Need more gift ideas? Our show merchandise, including Digging Deep shirts and hoodies, our Quad Guys Get Hot Chicks shirts and hoodies, back-to-back national champ merch, and more, are all available today at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. If you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee buttons. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to support our efforts. Keep sending your questions, stories, and topics in to be featured on an upcoming episode. Don't hesitate to call into our voicemail line so we can play them on the show. That number is 920-569-3519. You can follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content, coverage, and more fun stuff throughout the off season. As for the podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, our show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. Please be a friend, tell a friend, download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Mike Walsh, Brooke Catherine, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to the #1 podcast in ATV racing, 3 million downloads and counting. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross. See you next week for part 2 with Mike Walsh right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. Take care. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad leaders are freaking gnarly.